I have a question for you. Do you care about people? Of course you care about people. That's a silly question to keep you around for the first 30 seconds of the video. But have you ever wondered how to actually show someone that you care? Or how to build and strengthen trust and your relationships with those people? Well, if you watch this video, you'll hopefully find out how. So stick around.
Oh Lord, it's good to be here with you, Mr. O'Brien.
As I get more secure connections and just more connections in general, I'm learning a lot of stuff and I'm making a lot more mistakes than I used to because, I used to have no connections. And one of the biggest things that I've learned recently is that if you want like a strong, genuine connection, a strong, genuine relationship with someone, you have to put in effort and show them you care. Who would have thought of that, right? No one's ever thought of this before. No one. But that's not the problem. The problem is how. I had no idea how, and you're probably watching this because you don't know how to either. How do you even work on a relationship? How do you gain their trust? How do you show them you care? Not knowing how to do this sucks. You just sit there wondering why you're such a loner. I'm fine. Trust. There is nothing behind. When we think of a relationship or a connection with someone, we think of trust. Trust is one of the foundational aspects of any connection. Now, trust me, there's actually a way you can build trust very, very quickly. Yep. In a lot of cases, when I've seen people do this, they've walked into a room and had other people nearly instantly trust them, even if they didn't necessarily like that person. The people I've seen do this are almost always happy as well. Rogers said in one of his books, "I have come to realize that being trustworthy does not demand that I be rigidly consistent, but that I be dependably real." This quote, to me at least, makes a lot of sense. I've seen plenty of people in my life who are just themselves, and who obviously keep themselves accountable, and they have nothing to hide, and that makes them suddenly very easy to trust. Now, I want you to keep in mind and keep your eyes peeled on those last two words. Together. Dependably real. Dependably real is different from just being real every now and then. The problem with being dependably real is, for most of us, sometimes it can be really hard. I guess the best way to describe the difference between just being authentic and dependably authentic is responsibility and wanting to be better. Another really good one I find is humility. I think it takes a good amount of humility to be self-aware, to acknowledge your mistakes, to be comfortable in your own skin, whether you're right or wrong. If you're someone who's guided by strong values and admits when you're wrong, you're going to be very easy to trust because you're confident that this person, based on their history, isn't going to try to manipulate you or use you or fool you. You've sort of proven your allegiance to your values. And that's where we come into the catch. You can't really fake it, especially long term, because if you do, you're a bad person. I want you to think about people in your life that you trust, and why do you trust them? And what about yourself? What are you going to do about it? Everyone's heard of the word empathy before, but how do you even do empathy? Okay, well, if we look up the definition of empathy, it's the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Great. How? How can we understand and share the feelings of another? There's something I've talked about before that helps you understand other people's emotions. Okay, if you've seen at least one of my videos, you probably guessed what this was already, but you won't guess this, maybe. Listening can help build your empathy. But how can you listen in a way that might build empathy? When I want to really grasp how someone's feeling and what that feeling is like, I have to take a slightly different approach. The most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and be understood. The best way to understand people is to listen to them. Whether it was a tough day at work, or maybe it's something amazing that they've finished working on. I think part of growing up for me was realizing that not every conversation has to be about finding a solution to everything or winning the conversation. There's the basics to listening, like try not to cut someone off, don't judge them, be responsive, that kind of stuff. But then there's slightly more advanced stuff, like reflective listening and making sure you're both on the same page of understanding. Making sure you're authentic, you're being real. Empathic listening is around this area, I think. It's about trying to understand the emotions that someone is experiencing. Sure, we could just slap a label on their emotion, but we need to properly understand the deeper meanings behind it. Okay, this person feels sad. That's just the surface. Why do they feel sad? What does that sadness feel like? What exactly caused it and why is it still going? What have they been doing about it and how has it affected them recently? Just finding out that someone's dog passed away sucks. right? But what if you found out that they feel an empty hole in their chest, like something's always missing? Maybe they were with their dog for 10, 20 years, and he was always so happy and he just slowly got older and passed away. That hit a lot harder, didn't it? That's you feeling empathy. And that's why I think that empathy isn't something that we're just born with, it's a skill that we can develop as well. By better understanding the feelings that someone else is telling us about, we can feel them ourselves better as well. An extra tip, you don't always have to try to fix a problem. Try to understand the problem. That's what we're trying to do when we empathize with someone, is understand. Try to get in their shoes. Now, I don't think that fixing is bad. I'm just saying that there's different situations where each one is probably the better option. Now, if you want to learn a lot more about listening, I have a video, and I'm also going to put some books in the description you should read. Also, I have my active listening worksheet that's on sale until the 6th of January. The last two things I told you about could be pretty time consuming, so what about right now? If being trustworthy and empathetic, a better listener, are the cake, what's the icing on top? Actually, I think the icing on top is almost as important as the cake itself. When it comes to care and strengthening a relationship, I think the little things mean almost just as much as the big things, especially when you do them consistently. Now let me give you an example on the first little big thing, which I like to call them. Recently I told my dad I was grateful for him. This was the first time in my life I've ever actually been emotionally open with him. Now that did so much for our father-son connection, a lot more than I would have done in years of just father-son activities. It felt like that in the moment at least. In this moment I was honest with him about my feelings, and in return, he was too. And now we know so much more about each other, even if it's not in the form of words. And with that, now I value my connection a lot more. Just about every time I've been honest and respectful about my feelings, even out of the blue, it's done so many great things for all kinds of my relationships. Right now, I want you to pause the video, send a message to a friend that you're actually grateful for, telling them that you're grateful for them. Just try it. Wing it. Go for it. Why not? Here's another example. Now, I have a little list of close people's birthdays. I'm just going to blur the whole thing because I don't want you to know where I live. I think remembering the little things like birthdays here, but also dates for big events and little quirks and preferences about people can go a long way. Just keeping them at the back of your mind. I mean, if I care about these people, why would I want to miss something like that? Maybe you know someone who's picky or has a food allergy, so you'll avoid a certain place to eat tonight for dinner. I think it's a really good way to demonstrate and show care. It is for me at least. I think an important note to leave off with is being kind to others with the expectation of something back isn't kindness. It's just manipulation. Anyways, I'm boiling in my chair right now because it's 40 degrees outside. Merry Christmas. Have a good one. Bye-bye.